What's in the box? Big bada boom. We got bits. Replacement bits, because I lost one of them. We got bits. Replacement bits, because I lost one of them. A memory card. And a GoPro Hero 7. Yes, I said I wasn't going to get one. But when have I ever listened to myself when I'm trying to be sensible? Yes, so I've got a GoPro Hero 7. Review incoming.
Keep that bar rubber side down.
Okay, so this is testing the GoPro Hero 7 with the external microphone adapter, as I normally have it set up within my crash helmet. This review is purely from the motovlogger's perspective, so that's why I'm testing everything in the way that I'm going to be using it. So currently I've got the GoPro recording, and that was off the one touch record. Now I don't know whether this is going to have any audio or not, but let's hope it does, hey? Let's hope it does. Okay, so now I've turned the GoPro Hero 7 Black on using the power switch, and then hit the record after it had powered up. This is again using the external microphone adapter in my usual motovlogging helmet setup. So I'm hoping that you've got some audio from this too. This is the way I think GoPro suggests it should be used, but we need the one touch record. So if the previous recording is completely blank and silent, then you know that the one touch record isn't going to work, or at least isn't currently going to work. Now this is the GoPro Hero 7 out the box. I've done no firmware updates, I don't know if there are any, but it's as it came. Now I want to do one final experiment where I am going to turn the camera off again, but what I want to do then is see if I can power it externally and have it record, because the battery life on the GoPro Hero 7 is reported to be even worse than the 6, and the 6 is even worse than the 5. So they're all getting worse on battery power, so we really need to be able to power these externally. Okay, so we are now running on external power. When I turned the power bank on, the GoPro started to charge, which is promising, and then when I turned the power on the GoPro, it did show that the battery status was charging as well. So I'm hoping that we actually have some audio now and it's charging, so this will kind of run all day long on this setup, hopefully, fingers crossed and stuff like that. Right, let's unweird this and get out on the bike and do some tests. So we're out on the bike and we've got the GoPro Hero 7 Black strapped to my chin. So I'm hoping this will give you a good showcase of the standard stabilisation available with this camera. It's on the Hyper Stabilization doobie what's it, I'm not sure what it's called, but apparently it's the daddy. Now I seem to have picked a particularly crappy time to come out on the bike and do this, as trying to find a break in the traffic on this road was a bit of a pain, and having a break in the traffic is kind of important when I want to show you what the stabilisation like is on the 7. Yep, the road gets a bit mucky here, so we've got to keep the pace down. So I'm running the 7 on my usual settings. The only difference being is that I've got GoPro colour turned on. On the 6 and the 5, I always used to have the GoPro colour turned off and had it in flat, which I don't know why. I think someone told me once that that was the best way to do it, and I think if you're going to adjust the colour settings, I wonder how the stabilisation cope with that pile. Yeah, if you're going to adjust the colour settings yourself, then doing it in flat is probably the best bet. But so far, I've not delved into that art, so it'll be interesting to see what the GoPro colour thing does. Might not do anything, but because of how I'm tricking the tube of views into thinking that I'm putting 4K stuff up, you might think that it looks a lot better. And that's not really a true representation of the 7 versus the 6, because like I say, I have that feature turned off, or at least put onto flat colour on my initial setup. Because I've got quite a peculiar helmet setup, I'll run through that when we get back to the house, so that you can see how I am running this crash helmet. Now, during the tests earlier on, I tried it in 3 different button configurations. Firstly, with just the one-touch record, which worked fine, no problem at all. I then did it with powering it on and then using the record button, and that had no problems at all. And I also tried it powering it with the power bank, and again, that in that control condition had no issues whatsoever. But proof is in the pudding. So for me to do a fair comparison on how this performs on battery power, I need to do a longer ride, and I don't have that time today. So we will update that as and when in the future, once I've tried that facility. Because in the meantime, the batteries are actually good enough for short vlogging anyway, and it's a lot easier to not worry about having external power. When I run my GoPro Hero session, this one here, I run that with external power all the time and have no problems at all with it. So I'm really hoping I can get the Hero 7 Black to perform in the same way as the 5 does, or the 5 session does anyway. I couldn't get the 5 Black to do it, and I had trouble getting the 6 Black to do it. He would do it, but he was temperamental, so that requires further investigation with regards to how the 7's going to perform. And brilliant, I've timed this just right to be all caught up with a bunch of traffic. Fantasticals. So the user interface on the camera is pretty intuitive-ish. I don't like change, I preferred the old one, but once I get used to it, I think it's going to be absolutely dandy. It doesn't seem to pose any problems on finding your way around it, and I'm not one for reading the instructions either. So yes, I think it's pretty user-friendly. It's just different from how I'm used. When I'm editing, I'm going to put an overlay, a voiceover, explaining the differences that I can tell on my first impressions of the 7 as a motovlogging action camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sort out a little bit of a hyperthread time-lapse, or whatever they call their funky new time-lapse stabilised thing, and I'll talk to you a little bit about whether I think this camera is worth the upgrade. I think it's to be seen. It's to be seen. Proof will be in the pudding. We'll see what happens once I get to my PC. Okay, so I said on the video that I'd talk you through my helmet setup. This is a Nishua Enduro Carbon, which I got on Andy Mancam's recommendation, actually, from a company called Louis or something like that in Germany. The fit was my usual fit, so I didn't have any problems with sizing, and I took a punt that it was going to fit. So it might not be a thing that you want to try and do, but they're a fantastic company to deal with, and the product is amazing. I'm really impressed with it. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's carbon fibre, so it's super light, and that really helps in the motovlogger situation, because we're shoving all this hardware on our cameras, which can make them quite heavy. So starting off with a base light crash helmet is fantastic. Now the dart visor on there was an addition. It comes pin lock ready, and the helmet came with a pin lock as well, which is fan dabby doozy. I love pin lock, 100% recommend that, especially for the UK weather. The crash helmet did come with a peak attached, which is designed to come off, and it comes with different fittings so that you can put that on and off to your heart's content, and spare fittings as well, so that's quite cool too. It's really well thought out. It's a really good quality bit of kit. The foam in there is really comfy, and I have no problems recommending the product. It's really awesome, especially for the use that I'm using it for. It isn't, however, ACU approved, so you can't use this on track days, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the safety of it. It just means that they've not put it through the ACU testing. When I do track days, I use an Arai Chaser 5, and that's my old lid, which this replaced. Yeah, it's a fantastic crash helmet, but it's a lot heavier than this, and I found on longer journeys that gave me a bit of a headache, whereas on this I don't get that so much. Awesomes. Okay, so let's kind of go through my motovlogger setup and what we've got here. So as you know, this is a review of the GoPro Hero 7 Black. So on the front you've got my GoPro Hero 7 Black, and that is fitted with the external microphone adapter, and then various cables going off the back there. I'll explain them in a second. On the GoPro, just to give it a little bit of protection, I've got a rubber case on that. I'll put a link to that in the description in the video. I got that off Amazon. It was very cheap. It came from China or Hong Kong or something or other. Took a little while to turn up, but yeah, I recommend them as a good idea. They protect your camera a little bit, and also have the added advantage is I've just cut a slit in that case there, so that then I've got a little bit more water protection when running the external microphone. I wouldn't say it's 100% waterproof, not at all, but it's certainly fine enough for if you get caught out in an unexpected bit of rain. I mentioned I'm using the external microphone adapter on here, and as you can see I've got mine covered in Velcro. I use industrial strength Velcro to hold everything onto the crash helmet, so I can take it off and replace it in different locations should I go for a different setup. And as I turn the helmet to the side, you can see that I have done a side mount on this on the odd occasion, and when I'm doing the side mount I use the Hero 5 Session, which I think is a fantastic camera, and I'm absolutely gutted that they're no longer supporting that camera as an item for sale. The microphone on this is actually hidden in the cheek piece, so I can't show you that. I'm just going to show you underneath the crash helmet, so you can see where the microphone's coming away from the adapter here into the crash helmet, but actually goes inside the cheek piece here, and it's really discreet, it doesn't get in the way, and I don't find it a pain anymore like I used to when I keep it in the chin piece there. If we look further at this camera here, how I've got it mounted, you can see I've got a ball mount. These are fantastic, I love these are brilliant. These mean that you can get the angle of the camera exactly how you want it, and I've noticed that when I ride my motorbike I tilt my head to the right a little bit, and I'm able to compensate for that on here by just tilting this a little bit to the left, and that means that when you're looking at my videos it looks like we're looking straight up. Just I've got a wonky head, I think. I've attached the GoPro mount to the helmet on a semi-permanent basis using Sugaru. It's incredibly neat, and it keeps it in place nice and securely, and it means I can do that chin mount even on a peculiar shaped chin piece. I really like that. Not saying everyone should do that, because like I say, it's a semi-permanent thing. I'm sure I could cut it off and it would be as if it wasn't there, but yeah. But I like it this way. It's nice and secure, it's not going to come off. That is the only thing on here that's permanently mounted. The rest is all done through the 3M Velcro adhesive. So as we rotate round, you're wondering what this cable here is for. Well, that is for my power bank. This is a huge power bank, and it will last me a good couple of days of solid recording, I think. I've not load tested it to see how long it will go for, but it is pretty damn awesome. I'm very impressed with it. I've had a few teething problems, mainly on the 5 black and the 6 black. Early experiment this morning showed that it works on the 7, but I haven't tried that in anger yet, so yet to see if that's going to work or not. But on the 5 and the 6 I had a few issues where I was just getting no audio at all, or I was getting corruption with the memory card. I'm not sure what was going on there. It could be a memory card that was going out of date, or whatever, I don't know. But using it on the Hero 5 Session, absolutely no problems whatsoever, and it's my preferred method of powering that particular camera. The Session was bought actually as an on-bike camera, and it's fantastic for that, but because it's short battery life, it's a real problem if you can't give it some external power source like I have on the helmet here, or if I was mounting it on the bike I need to wire it to the bike, and I've done that. I've got a USB power socket on the bike, which means I can power my phone and I can power a camera if I choose to on bike, and keep them all nice and charged, which is awesome and helpful and useful and stuff. GoPro products, when you buy them from GoPro Direct, all come with a memory card. It's a 32 gig, which is fine I guess if you only want to make a short video, but we tend to go out all day on the bikes, so we need our memory cards to last as long as possible. These are the ones I use. It's the SanDisk Extreme. It's 128 gigabytes with the right speed up to 100 megabits per second, and yeah, it's pretty dandy. I've not had any problems with these, although one of them I think has just got a bit old because it was in the camera I was using all the time, so you do need to replace these every now and again, but this is damn fine, and it means that I can have the proper data rates from GoPro at 1080 and even at 4K without any problems at all on it writing. Yeah, no corruption whatsoever, except for when I started messing around with this power bank. So coincidence, don't know, but we'll have to see. But that's the memory cards I use, and yeah, I recommend these. I get them from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below to these particular ones, just so you know that that's where I get mine from, so it's likely to be a trusted seller. You do have to watch where you're getting your memory cards from, because there are a lot of fakes out there. So yes, be mindful of cheap deals on eBay and stuff like that. You're not necessarily getting what it says on the tin. I mentioned my microphone is all hidden away. These are the microphones I use. They're really cheap things. They Again, I got these off Amazon. I got these as a multi-pack with 5 of them because I wanted some spares. They've got like a stiff wire, so they form into whatever form you want them to be in, and they sit quite nicely. I don't keep them looking like this though. I've taken off the foam bit on the front, taken off this silver bit here, and there's also a black cover in there. And I don't know if you can hear this. You can't see that because I did it off camera, but that rattle is the microphone head inside that rattling around. Obviously that's a bit useless, so what I've done is I've taken all that apart, putting a little bit of amalgamating tape around it just to hold it steady so it doesn't rattle anymore, and that makes the headpiece so much smaller as well, so I'm able to actually push that into the cheek piece of my helmet, and that gives me quite clear audio without too much wind or anything like that interfering. Links again in the description down below. So that's my helmet setup and how I have the camera on there. I talked a little bit about the settings I'm using on the camera, which is 1080p 60 on super view, and I'm using the new stabilisation thing that the GoPro Hero 7 has. The brief look of the footage I've taken so far, I'm really impressed with it, especially the hyperlapse or whatever they call that, where you go through time warp type sitch. That's incredibly smooth. So yes, I'm going to play that hyperlapse to you now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about whether you should upgrade to a GoPro Hero 7 or not. So the GoPro Hero 7 Black, should you get it? Should you upgrade? Should you change what you've got already for this rather expensive and rather fancy camera? It all depends really on what you have already. So if you have got a GoPro Hero 4 and it's getting a little bit tired, then yeah, I think it's definitely worth upgrading to the 7. If you have a GoPro Hero 5, the image stabilisation on the 7 is just a world apart. An absolute world apart, and the 5 ain't too shabby for image stabilisation either. So yes, the stabilisation is better and it should be used. It's not gimbal smooth, but it is damn good. I think other than the Sony, there's nothing that can compete with this. But if you've got a Hero 6 already, I probably wouldn't bother. I'd wait until your 6 died, because yeah, there's not enough of a change. But to me, I just want a simple camera that works, that I can stick on my crash helmet and record audio with. I'm absolutely miffed to bits that they've stuck with this stupid, ridiculous external microphone adapter. That's 3 cameras that they've given us this for. I can't see them changing. They obviously don't care enough about motovloggers to give us the 3.5mm jack on the side of the camera that we all are craving for. If only they did that, this I think would be a game breaker. And yes, if they did that, I would replace your 6 with this camera tomorrow, today, yesterday. But because that microphone adapter is still there, I don't see the point in upgrading from the 6 to this. The stabilisation is better, but the battery life is worse. It's a trade-off. It's the same price as the 6, or even slightly cheaper actually. So it is a good value, high-end camera. If your budget can stretch to it, do it. So if you haven't done so already, please click that subscribe button, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a little thumbs up. Whatever you do, please drop in a comment, let me know what it was that you liked and what it was you didn't. Anyhow, you ride safe, take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.
Gotta keep that body rubber side down. You know, you gotta keep that body rubber side down.